thought spending my last coin would save me. I was wrong. The moment the silver touched his skin, I felt it, a pull so violent it stole my breath. And the way his eyes snapped open, molten gold burning through the dim light of that warehouse. I knew I'd just made a mistake I could never undo. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The rain hadn't stopped in 3 days. Portland always felt like it was drowning, but tonight the city seemed determined to pull me under with it. I stood outside the abandoned waterfront warehouse, water streaming down my face. My fingers wrapped around the last thing I owned that mattered. My mother's coin, silver, ancient, worn smooth by generations of hands I'd never know. She'd pressed it into my palm the night she died, whispering words I didn't understand. When you find him, you'll know. Spend it wisely. I'd carried it for 6 years. Through losing our apartment, through art school loans I'd never pay back, through the suffocating silence after my brother Ethan vanished 3 months ago without a trace. And now I was about to throw it away on a nightmare. Have you ever loved someone you were never supposed to? I pushed open the warehouse door. The smell hit me first. Salt, rust, and something sharper. Fear, maybe. The kind that clings to skin when people are bought and sold like merchandise. The room opened up before me, cavernous and cold, lit by flickering industrial lights that barely cut through the shadows. And there, in the center of it all, was the auction block. I shouldn't have been here. I'd followed a lead. A bartender who knew a guy who heard Ethan had been asking questions about illegal alpha trafficking rings before he disappeared. The kind of questions that got people killed. The kind of questions I was apparently stupid enough to keep asking. Lot 47, a voice crackled through ancient speakers. Cold, transactional. Alpha, age 28, unbroken, pack leader, bidding starts at 50,000. The crowd, humans mostly, the kind who didn't understand what they were playing with, murmured with interest. I pushed closer, my heart hammering. And then I saw him, chained, on his knees, an alpha, broad-shouldered, dark-haired, with a jaw that looked carved from stone, and eyes that burned with barely contained rage, even as silver cuffs bit into his wrists. Blood traced down his temple. His chest rose and fell with controlled breaths, every muscle coiled like he was 1 second from tearing this entire place apart. But it was his scent that hit me. Cedar and smoke, winter mornings and something wild I couldn't name. It slammed into me so hard I actually stumbled, catching myself against a rusted support beam. What the hell? I'd never reacted to an alpha's scent before. Omegas weren't supposed to, unless... No, that wasn't possible. 60,000, someone called, and 75. The alpha's eyes swept the crowd, and for just a heartbeat they landed on me. Gold, burning, furious, and something else. Recognition. But that was impossible. I'd never seen him before in my life. 100,000, a voice purred from the front, a woman in red, dripping with wealth and cruelty. And I'll take him unbroken or not. The crowd laughed. The alpha didn't move, but his eyes, they promised murder. I don't know what possessed me. Maybe it was the way he looked like Ethan had the last time I saw him. Caged, desperate, still fighting. Maybe it was my mother's voice echoing in my skull. Maybe it was the pull I felt in my chest, irrational and impossible to ignore. I pushed through the crowd. Stop! My voice barely carried, but somehow the room went quiet. Heads turned. The auctioneer, a thin man with dead eyes, looked at me like I was an insect. Excuse me? I pulled the coin from my pocket. It caught the light, gleaming like it had been waiting for this moment. I'll pay. The woman in red laughed. Sweetheart, that's a pretty antique, but unless it's worth 6 figures, it's a bonding token, the auctioneer breathed, and the laughter died. Every alpha in the room went still. The auctioneer's eyes gleamed with something ugly. Where did you get that? It's mine. My voice shook, but I stepped forward anyway. I'm bidding. You don't know what you're doing, boy, the auctioneer hissed. Then take the bid or don't. I met his eyes, but I'm not leaving without him. Silence. The alpha on the platform was staring at me now, something raw and unreadable crossing his face. The auctioneer smiled slowly. Sold? 2 guards dragged the alpha forward, and before I could process what I'd done, they shoved him to his knees in front of me. "Payment is rendered on contact," the auctioneer said. "Place the coin in his hand, and he's yours." I should have run. I should have asked questions. I should have done anything except what I did next. I knelt. The alpha's eyes locked onto mine, molten gold, burning with warning. "Don't!" his expression screamed. I pressed the coin into his palm. The world exploded. Heat, blinding, consuming, impossible. It roared through my veins like wildfire, and I heard him gasp, actually gasp, as the silver flared white-hot between our skin. The chain around his wrist shattered. The air itself seemed to crack, and then I felt it. The bond. Not just to him, to three. Three separate pulls. Three threads of golden light searing into my chest, binding me to... "No," the alpha whispered, his voice wrecked. "No, you... What did you..." His hand closed around my wrist, and his scent slammed into me again. But this time it wasn't just cedar and smoke. It was mine, and I was his. "We need to go," he growled. "Right now." "What? What just happened?" "You just bonded yourself to the three most dangerous alphas in Portland." His eyes burned. "And every person in this room is about to try to kill you for it." The warehouse doors burst open. Two men stepped through, both tall, both dark-haired, both moving like predators, both with the same golden eyes. "Damon," the first one said, his voice low and lethal. "You found him." The second one's gaze locked onto me, and his nostrils flared. "Ours," he breathed. Damon's grip on my wrist tightened. "Run!" I didn't run. I couldn't. My legs felt like they'd been soldered to the concrete floor. Every muscle locked as those two men stepped into the warehouse, like they owned the air itself. The way they moved, fluid, predatory, synchronized, made my instincts scream conflicting orders. Run, hide, submit, fight. But underneath all of it was something worse. Want. "Damon," the first one said again, and his voice did something to my insides I didn't have words for. Rough velvet, a threat and a promise wrapped together. His eyes, the same impossible gold as the alpha still gripping my wrist, dragged over me like a physical touch. "Is this him?" "Rhett," Damon's voice was a warning. "Not here." "Then where?" The second man moved closer, and God, he was beautiful in a way that felt dangerous. Sharper features than Damon, elegant and lethal like a blade. When he spoke, his voice was softer, but somehow that made it worse. "Because I can smell him from here, and if we don't move right now, every alpha in this room is going to realize what just happened." He was right. I could feel the shift, the way attention was turning toward us like a predator catching scent of wounded prey. The woman in red had gone very still, her eyes calculating. The auctioneer's smile had turned into something hungry. "The coin," someone whispered. "That was a Trinity bond token." The warehouse erupted. Damon moved before I could process it, his body between me and the crowd, and suddenly the other two were there too, forming a wall of muscle and lethal intent around me, like I was something precious, or something they owned. "Touch him and I'll paint these walls with you," Rhett said conversationally, and I believed him. Out the back, the softer one, Julian, murmured. His hand found the small of my back, and the touch sent electricity up my spine. "Can you run?" My voice came out strangled. "I don't understand what's happening." "Explanations later." Damon's hand shifted from my wrist to lace through my fingers, and the bond sang, "Survival now." Then we were moving. They moved like a unit. Damon leading, Rhett on my right, Julian on my left, their bodies constantly adjusting to keep me protected in the center. Someone lunged from the crowd. Rhett's fist connected with their jaw so fast I barely saw it move. The crack echoed through the warehouse. "Door!" Julian called. We burst through the back exit into the rain, and the cold air hit my face like a slap. The alley was dark, slick with water, reeking of garbage in the Willamette River. "This way," Damon pulled me left, and I stumbled, my worn sneakers sliding on wet pavement. Julian's arm caught me before I fell. "I've got you." And the thing was, I believed him. I shouldn't have. I didn't know these men. I didn't know what I'd just done, what that coin had been, why my chest felt like it was tied to all three of them with golden threads I could almost see burning in the dark. But when Julian's arm steadied me, when Damon's hand tightened around mine, when Rhett glanced back to make sure I was still there, I felt safe, and that was the most terrifying thing of all. We ran through Portland's industrial district, past abandoned buildings and shipping containers, the sound of pursuit fading behind us. Rain plastered my clothes to my skin, and my lungs burned. But they didn't slow down. They moved like they could run forever, and I was the weak link. Here, Damon finally stopped at a black SUV parked in the shadows. He pulled open the back door. Get in. I hesitated. All three of them went still. I swallowed hard. I don't know you. I don't know what just happened back there. And you're telling me to get in a car with three strange alphas who keep saying that we're bonded, Julian finished quietly. You activated a Trinity bond token. It's ancient, rare, and irreversible. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? Rhett laughed, but there was no humor in it. It means you just tied yourself to the three of us, sweetheart. Permanently. That's not possible. The pull you're feeling? Damon stepped closer, and I hated that I didn't step back. Hated that his scent, cedar and smoke and mine, made me want to lean in. The way you can barely breathe when we're close? The way your body knows us, even though we just met? I couldn't answer, because he was right. That's the bond, he said softly. And right now, every trafficking ring, black market dealer, and power-hungry alpha in this city just found out that a Trinity Omega, the first one in a generation, just activated a claim with the Ashford pack. The Ashford recognition slammed into me. The crime family, you're the Ashfords. We prefer territorial pack leaders, Rhett drawled. But sure. Oh God, oh God. I'd bonded myself to the most dangerous alpha pack in the Pacific Northwest. So you have two choices, Damon continued, his voice dropping lower. You can get in this car, let us take you somewhere safe, and we'll explain everything. Or you can try to walk away, Julian said gently, and we'll respect that. Even though it'll kill us, even though the bond will make you sick, make you weak, make every instinct scream to come back to us. Even though you'll be hunted, Rhett added, alone. The rain fell harder. I looked at each of them. Damon, hard, controlled, vibrating with protective rage. Rhett, dangerous, magnetic, watching me like he wanted to devour me. Julian, soft-spoken, devastating, with eyes that saw too much. And I felt it. The bond. 3 golden threads. Pulling. If you were him, would you stay or walk away? Tell me one thing, I whispered. Just one. Are you going to hurt me? Silence. Then Damon spoke, and his voice was raw. We're going to protect you with everything we have, even from ourselves if we need to. But, I could hear the unspoken word. But we're not letting you go, Rhett said bluntly. Ever. Honesty, brutal and terrifying, and somehow exactly what I needed. I got in the car. Julian slid in beside me and Rhett took the front passenger seat while Damon drove. The doors locked with a soft click that felt final. As we pulled into Portland's rain-soaked streets, Julian's hand found mine in the dark. What's your name? He asked quietly. Kai, I whispered. Kai Sterling. All three of them went rigid. Damon's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror, and something cold slid down my spine at his expression. Sterling, he repeated. Your brother. Was his name Ethan Sterling? My heart stopped. How do you know my brother? The car went silent except for the rain hammering the roof. Then Rhett turned around, and his face was granite. Because we're the ones who found his body. The air left my lungs. Not slowly. All at once, like I'd been punched in the chest. Julian's hand was still wrapped around mine. And I felt his fingers tighten, anchoring me or holding me down. I couldn't tell which. What? The word barely made it past my lips. Kai, Damon started, but I ripped my hand away from Julian's. What did you just say? My voice cracked. You found his body? The car swerved slightly as Damon's hands tightened on the wheel. Rain hammered the windshield, the wipers working frantically, and all I could hear was my own heartbeat drowning everything else out. Ethan was dead. My brother was dead. "Pull over," I choked out. "Pull over right now." "We can't stop here," Rhett began. "Pull over." I lunged for the door handle, and suddenly Julian's arms were around me, hauling me back against his chest. "Let me go!" "Kai, stop!" His voice was strained and his scent, rain and something dark, like wet earth, wrapped around me even as I fought him. "You'll hurt yourself. I don't care." My elbow connected with something solid, and Julian grunted but didn't let go. You're lying. He can't be." The car screeched to a stop. Damon twisted in his seat and his eyes were blazing. "Listen to me." "No." Tears burned down my face, hot against my cold skin. "You don't get to tell me my brother is dead, and then tell me to listen." 3 weeks ago, Damon said, his voice cutting through my panic like a blade. "We found him in a shipping container at the docks, throat slit, dumped like garbage." The world tilted. "He'd been asking questions," Rhett added, quieter now, "about the same auction house we've been hunting, about missing Omegas, about bloodline trafficking," Damon finished. "He got too close. They killed him for it." I stopped fighting. Julian's arms were still around me, and I realized I was shaking so hard my teeth were chattering. "Ethan. God, Ethan. My big brother who taught me to draw, who worked 3 jobs to keep us fed after Mom died, who promised he'd come back." "You're lying," I whispered, but I could hear how hollow it sounded. "You have to be lying." "We buried him," Julian said softly against my ear. "Sunset Hills Cemetery. There's a maple tree on the east side. We didn't know who he was, didn't know he had family. If we had..." "You would have what?" I twisted in his arms and he let me turn to face him. His eyes were dark gray, storm-colored, and there was something devastatingly genuine in them. "Saved him? Protected him? Like you're claiming you'll protect me?" He flinched. "Good. We didn't know," he said quietly. "But we know now, and we know why they killed him." "Why?" The word tasted like blood. Damon and Rhett exchanged a look. "Because of what you are," Damon said finally. "What your bloodline is." I laughed, a broken, ugly sound. "I'm nobody. I'm a broke Omega who dropped out of art school and can barely pay rent." "You're a Sterling," Rhett interrupted. "Do you know what that means?" "It means my mom picked a random last name when she ran away from whatever she was running from." "It means," Damon said, and his voice had gone deadly quiet, "that you're descended from the only Omega bloodline that can forge or sever Alpha Pack bonds. At will." Silence. The rain was the only sound. Relentless. Drowning. "That's insane," I breathed. "The coin you used tonight?" Julian's hand came up slowly, carefully, like I was something breakable. His fingers brushed my jaw, and I hated that I leaned into the touch. "That wasn't just an antique. It was your mother's bonding token. And when you gave it to Damon, you didn't just buy him. You activated a Trinity bond that shouldn't have been possible. Trinity bonds are myths. You feel it, don't you?" Rhett leaned over the seat, and his eyes were molten. 3 separate pulls. 3 threads tied around your chest. You can feel exactly where each of us is right now without looking. He was right. I could feel Damon in front of me, Julian behind me, Rhett to my left, like golden strings humming with awareness. "That's not normal," Rhett continued. "Most Omegas can barely sense their mate when they're bonded. But you didn't just bond with one alpha. You bound yourself to 3, because your bloodline is designed to create pack bonds." "No." "Your brother figured it out," Damon said. "Found records, old pack histories. He was trying to find you protection before they found you first." "But they found him instead," I whispered. Damon's jaw clenched. "Yes." The tears came harder now, and I couldn't stop them. "Ethan. He'd been trying to protect me, and it had gotten him killed. And now I was sitting in a car with 3 strange alphas who claimed I belonged to them, who knew my brother was dead before I did. Who? Wait." My head snapped up. You said you found him 3 weeks ago. Damon's expression went carefully blank. 3 weeks, I repeated, my voice shaking. You've known for 3 weeks that Ethan Sterling was dead. You've known there might be family looking for him. And you didn't tell anyone? Didn't try to find... We tried, Julian said quietly. But every record we found said he was alone. No family. No next of kin. He had me. He kept you hidden, Rhett said flatly. Intentionally. No social media. No shared address. Nothing that would link you two together. He was trying to keep you safe. And it had worked. Right up until I'd walked into that warehouse looking for him. The coin, I said slowly, pieces clicking together in my head. If it's so valuable, so rare, why was the auctioneer willing to take it as payment? The three of them went still. Because he knew, I continued, my voice getting stronger even as my hands shook. He knew what I was, knew what would happen if I used it. That's why he accepted the bid. Damon's silence was answer enough. You let yourself be captured, I breathed, staring at him. You said pack leader. You're too strong, too trained to be taken by some human trafficking ring. You let them take you. His jaw tightened. Yes. Why? Because we've been hunting for a Sterling bloodline Omega for 6 months, he said flatly. Ever since we found prophecy records that said one would surface in Portland. We knew the auction house was targeting rare Omegas, so I let them take me. Let them put me on that block. Waited for bait, I finished, and something cold settled in my stomach. You were bait to draw out whoever had the coin. To draw out you, Rhett corrected. We didn't know it would be you specifically, but yes, I stared at him, at all of them. So this bond, this thing I'm feeling, you planned this? No. Damon's voice was rough. We planned to find you, protect you. The bond... He stopped, something raw crossing his face. The bond was real, is real. We didn't know it would be Trinity, didn't know it would be this. But you knew enough to manipulate me into activating it. We didn't manipulate. You let me think I was saving you. My voice cracked. Let me spend my last piece of my mother. Let me think I was doing something good. You were, Julian said desperately. Kai, you were. The bond is real. What we feel is real. I don't care what you feel, I shoved away from him. My brother is dead. You've been using me from the moment I walked into that warehouse. And now I'm tied to you, to all three of you. And I can't. My breath hitched. I couldn't breathe. The bond was pulling, demanding, begging me to stop fighting, to lean into them, to trust. But Ethan was dead, and these alphas had known. Take me home, I whispered. Kai, take me home. Damon's hands flexed on the wheel. Then slowly he put the car in drive. We drove through Portland in silence, and I felt the bond screaming with every mile. But home didn't exist anymore. The realization hit me as Damon pulled up to my apartment building, a sagging 3-story walk-up in southeast Portland that smelled like mildew and broken dreams. Yellow police tape crisscrossed my door. My stomach dropped. What? They got here first, Rhett said grimly, already scanning the street. Probably an hour after you left for the warehouse. I stared at the tape, at my door hanging slightly open, at the dark window of the studio apartment where I'd lived for 2 years. Everything I owned was in there. Ethan's sketchbooks, Mom's photos, the last pieces of a life that was already falling apart. No, I reached for the door handle. No, I need to. Julian's hand caught my wrist. You can't go in there. That's my home. It's a crime scene now, Damon said quietly. And if we're right about who's looking for you, they've already stripped it for anything that might tell them where you'd run. The bond pulsed. 3 separate threads of concern, protection, possession, and I wanted to scream. So what? My voice shook. I just leave? Let them take everything. You come with us, Rhett said, and there was no question in his voice. To our territory, where we can actually keep you safe. I don't want your protection. Too bad. His eyes flashed gold. You're ours now. That means our responsibility. Our problem. I'm not a problem. You're a Trinity-bonded Omega, with a bloodline that can reshape pack hierarchies across the entire West Coast, Damon cut in. Every alpha with ambition is going to want to own you, break you, or kill you. So yes, Kai, you're a problem. Our problem. The casual way he said it, like I was something to be managed, controlled, made fury burn through my grief. I didn't ask for this. Neither did we, Rhett shot back. But here we are. Rhett, Julian's voice was soft, warning. His hand was still around my wrist, and his thumb had started tracing small circles against my pulse point. I wanted to pull away. Couldn't make myself do it. You're not helping. I'm being honest. Rhett twisted to look at me fully, and God, his face was devastating even in anger. Sharp cheekbones, a mouth made for sin, and eyes that saw too much. You want pretty lies? We'll get you killed. You want the truth? You're bonded to 3 alphas who will burn this city down before we let anyone touch you. But that means you don't get to go home. You don't get your old life back. You don't get to pretend this didn't happen. Stop! Damon's voice cracked like a whip. Rhett's jaw clenched, but he fell silent. The rain had softened to a drizzle. Streetlights reflected off wet pavement, turning Portland into a watercolor painting. Everything blurred. My voice broke. I need a minute, just 1 minute, where I can think without feeling you all inside my head. That's not how this works, Julian said gently. The bond doesn't turn off. It's always there, always pulling. Then make it stop. We can't. His fingers tightened on my wrist. Kai, we can't. Even if we wanted to. Do you? I looked at him. Want to? Silence. Then Julian did something I didn't expect. He brought my wrist to his mouth and pressed his lips against my racing pulse. The touch was feather-light, reverent, and it sent electricity straight through me. No, he whispered against my skin. I don't want it to stop. I've been looking for you my entire life, and now that I found you, the idea of letting you go makes me want to tear my own chest open. My breath caught. But, he continued, and his storm-gray eyes met mine, if you really want to walk away, if you need space even though it'll hurt all of us, I'll be the first one to step back. Julian, Rhett started. No, Julian didn't look away from me. He deserves the choice, even if it's killing me to offer it. Damon's hands were white-knuckled on the steering wheel, and I felt it, the bond fracturing at the edges, like Julian was somehow holding himself back by sheer force of will. It hurt. Actually physically hurt. Like someone was pulling stitches tight across my ribs. I hate you, I whispered, but I didn't pull my wrist away. I hate that you used me. I hate that my brother is dead and you knew. I hate that I can feel you, and I don't even know you. I know, Julian's thumb traced my pulse again. I know. But I hate more that I can't leave. Tears burned hot down my face. That every cell in my body is screaming to stay close to you. That even knowing you manipulated me, I still want us, Rhett finished roughly. We feel it too. I looked at him, at the raw hunger in his eyes, at the way his hands were clenched into fists like he was holding himself back from reaching for me. Then at Damon, whose shoulders were rigid with tension, whose eyes in the rearview mirror were burning with something that looked like guilt and desire, warring for dominance. I can't go home, I said finally. Can I? No, Damon admitted. Not safely. And if I try to run, to leave Portland, start over somewhere else. The bond will make you sick, Julian said quietly, and they'll find you anyway. You're too valuable not to hunt. Trapped. I was completely, utterly trapped. How long? My voice sounded hollow. How long before the bond would make me sick? Days, Damon said. Maybe a week if you're strong. But Kai, and if I stay with you? Go to your territory? Then you're under Ashford protection, Rhett said. No one touches you without going through us. And what do you want from me? I met his eyes. Honestly, what does this bond mean to you? Rhett's smile was sharp. Everything. Too honest, too intense. I looked at Julian. And you? I want to keep you safe, he said simply. I want to learn everything about you. His voice dropped. I want to be worthy of this bond. My chest ached. Damon? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want you to forgive us. Eventually, for the manipulation, for the lies. His eyes met mine in the mirror. And I want you to choose to stay, not because the bond demands it, because you want to. The rain picked up again. I closed my eyes, felt the 3 golden threads humming in my chest. Thought about Ethan, about the empty apartment, about how I had exactly nothing left except 3 dangerous alphas and a bond I didn't understand. Take me to your territory, I whispered. Julian exhaled like I'd given him oxygen. Rhett's expression went predatory with satisfaction, and Damon started driving. But, I continued, opening my eyes, I'm not doing this because I forgive you. I'm not doing this because I trust you. I'm doing this because I don't have a choice. And because, my voice hardened, because whoever killed Ethan is still out there, and I'm going to find them. Kai, Damon started. I'm going to find them, I repeated, and you're going to help me. That's the deal. Silence. Then Rhett laughed, a dark, delighted sound. Oh, we're keeping you. You don't get to keep me, I snapped. I'm not a pet. No. Damon's voice was rough. You're our mate, which is so much worse. The SUV turned onto a tree-lined street, and through the rain I could see gates, high, fortified, opening automatically as we approached. Welcome to Ashford territory, Julian said softly. And as we drove through those gates, I felt them close behind us like a cage, or a sanctuary. I wasn't sure which. The house wasn't a house. It was a fortress pretending to be one. Modern architecture, all glass and dark wood and clean lines, rose 3 stories against the Portland skyline. Floor-to-ceiling windows glowed warm against the rain, and I could see shadows moving inside. People. Pack members, probably. More alphas who would look at me and see a thing to own. The SUV stopped in a circular driveway, and my chest tightened. How many? I asked quietly. How many what? Julian's hand was still holding mine. When had that happened? How many people live here? How many will know what I am? Damon killed the engine. 12 pack members live on the property, but only 4 know about Trinity bonds. The rest think you're... He paused. They'll think you're our chosen mate. Singular. You're going to lie to your own pack? We're going to protect you, Rhett corrected. And right now that means keeping the truth quiet until we understand what we're dealing with. The front door opened and a woman stepped out. Late 50s, silver streaking through dark hair, moving with the kind of confidence that said she'd seen everything and wasn't impressed by any of it. Her eyes landed on the car, then sharpened. That's Margaret, Julian said, our house manager. She's human, but she knows about everything. Everything, I repeated. Everything, Damon confirmed. He opened his door. She raised us after our parents died. If there's anyone in this world we trust completely, it's her. I watched Margaret approach through the rain, an umbrella over her head, her expression unreadable. When Damon stepped out, she stopped. You found him, she said simply. We found him. Her eyes shifted to me through the window, and something in her face softened. The Sterling boy? My breath caught. You know about Ethan? I know you lost him, she said, and there was genuine sympathy in her voice. I'm sorry. The grief rose again, sharp and suffocating, and I had to look away. Julian squeezed my hand. Come on, let's get you inside. I let him help me out of the car, and the moment my feet hit the wet pavement, exhaustion slammed into me. How long had it been since I'd slept? Since I'd eaten. The adrenaline was crashing, leaving nothing but bone-deep weariness and the constant pull of the bond. Margaret's eyes cataloged me in one sweep. The damp clothes, the shaking hands, the barely controlled panic. Master bathroom, hot shower. I'll bring food and clothes. He needs, Rhett started. I know what he needs, Margaret interrupted. And it's not 3 alphas hovering while he's trying to process trauma. Her eyes were steel. Give him space. The bond, Damon began, will survive 30 minutes of separation. She looked at me. Won't it? I wanted to say yes, wanted to prove I didn't need them, that I could handle this on my own. But the bond was already aching at the thought of distance. I don't know, I admitted quietly. Then we'll find out. Margaret held out her hand. Come with me. Let these boys remember how to be patient. I looked at the three of them. Damon, rigid with control. Rhett, practically vibrating with the need to follow. Julian, watching me with those storm gray eyes that saw too much. Then I took Margaret's hand. The bond screamed. I stumbled, and Margaret caught me. Easy. Breathe through it. It hurts. I know. Her arm went around my waist, supporting me. But you need to learn your own strength separate from theirs. Trust me. Behind us, I heard Rhett growl. Actually growl. Down, boy, Margaret said without looking back. He'll survive. So will you. She led me into the house, and each step away from them felt like walking through water. The bond pulled, ached, demanded I turn around. But I kept moving. The interior was just as stunning as the exterior. Vaulted ceilings. Modern furniture that somehow felt warm instead of cold. Art on the walls, real art, the kind I used to study before I had to drop out. Everything rich and expensive, and so far from my life, it felt like a different planet. Here, Margaret opened a door, and I saw the bathroom. Massive. Marble and glass and a shower that could fit 4 people. Everything I wasn't. I don't belong here, I whispered. Maybe not yet. She turned to face me. But you're bonded to the 3 most stubborn alphas I've ever known. So whether you belong or not, you're here. Question is, what are you going to do about it? I looked at her. Really looked. There was no pity in her eyes. No judgment. Just honest curiosity. I don't know, I said. Then start with a shower. She moved to a cabinet, pulling out towels. Wash off the warehouse. Wash off the fear. Then we'll figure out the rest. They used me, I said suddenly. The Ashfords. They let me think I was saving Damon, but it was all bait, Margaret finished. Yes, I know. And that doesn't bother you? She was quiet for a moment. Then, these boys have been searching for their mate since they understood what that meant. When they found prophecy records about a sterling Omega, they became obsessed. Would they have preferred to meet you honestly? Yes, but when they found your brother's body and realized the auction house was hunting you, she met my eyes. They did what they thought they had to. Doesn't make it right, but it makes it understandable. My brother is dead because of what I am. Your brother is dead because evil people exist, Margaret corrected firmly. Not because of you. Never because of you. My throat tightened. Shower, she said again, gentler this time. I'll be back in 20 minutes with food and clothes. And Kai? She paused at the door. The bond will hurt for a while, but it does get easier, I promise. Then she left, closing the door behind her. I stood in that beautiful bathroom, dripping rainwater onto expensive tile, and felt the bond pulling at my ribs like fish hooks. 20 minutes. I could do 20 minutes. I stripped off my wet clothes, the cheap jeans, the threadbare hoodie, the worn sneakers that had walked miles of Portland streets looking for Ethan. Looking for answers I'd never wanted to find. The shower was scalding, and I let it burn. Let it wash away the warehouse scent, the rain, the feeling of Damon's chains breaking under my touch. But it couldn't wash away the bond. Couldn't wash away the 3 golden threads that hummed with awareness even through the steam. I could feel them downstairs. Damon, pacing, controlled fury. Rhett, restless, dangerous. Julian, still, but the stillness of a predator waiting. All of them wanting to come to me. All of them holding back because Margaret had told them to. The water ran cold before I could make myself get out. I dried off with towels softer than anything I'd ever owned and found clothes waiting on the counter. Sweatpants, a t-shirt, both too big, probably Julian's, based on the scent that clung to them. Rain and earth and something that made my hindbrain go quiet. I pulled them on and opened the door. Margaret was waiting with a tray. Soup, bread, water. Eat, she commanded. I ate. And halfway through the bowl, sitting on the edge of a bed in a guest room that was bigger than my entire apartment had been, I felt it. The bond settling. Just slightly. Like my body was finally accepting that I was safe here. Even if I didn't want to be. Margaret, I said quietly. Yes? The auction house. The people who killed Ethan. I looked up at her. Do the Ashfords know where they are? Her expression went carefully neutral. Why? Because I meant what I said in the car. I set down the bowl. I'm going to find them, and I'm going to make them pay. Margaret studied me for a long moment, then she smiled, sharp and approving. You'll fit in just fine here, she said. And from downstairs I felt the bond pulse with 3 separate notes of satisfaction. They'd heard me. Good. They were waiting at the bottom of the stairs. All 3 of them. I stopped on the landing, my hand gripping the banister, and the bond pulled so hard I actually swayed. 20 minutes apart, and my body was acting like I'd been separated from them for days. Damon stood with his arms crossed, leaning against the wall. Rhett was prowling. 3 steps left, 3 steps right. Contained violence. And Julian sat on the bottom step, elbows on his knees, looking up at me with an expression that made my chest ache. You heard, I said. Not a question. Every word, Rhett confirmed. His eyes were molten gold. You want revenge. I want justice. Same thing, Damon said quietly. When it comes to blood. I descended slowly, each step bringing me closer to them, and the bond sang with relief. My traitorous body relaxed despite everything. Despite the manipulation, despite Ethan, despite not knowing if I could ever trust them. The auction house, I said, stopping 3 steps from the bottom, close enough to feel their heat, far enough to maintain the illusion of distance. Margaret said you've been hunting them. Tell me what you know. It's not that simple, Julian started. Then make it simple. My voice came out harder than I intended. You said I'm yours, your mate, your responsibility. Fine. Then that means I get the truth, all of it. Silence stretched between us. Then Damon pushed off the wall and moved toward me. The bond thrummed with every step he took, and when he stopped at the base of the stairs, I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. The organization is called the Sanctuary, he said. On the surface, they're a rehoming service for displaced Omegas. Legitimate, licensed. They've placed hundreds of Omegas in safe homes over the past decade. But underneath? I already knew the answer. Underneath, they're trafficking rare bloodlines to the highest bidder. His jaw tightened. Omegas with specific genetics, specific abilities. They identify them, isolate them, and sell them to alphas who want... He stopped. Who want what? Power, Rhett cut in. An Omega who can manipulate pack bonds? Do you understand what that means in the wrong hands? You could force loyalty, break alliances, reshape entire territories. Ice slid down my spine. I can't do that. I don't even know how. You did it tonight, Julian said softly. The moment you gave Damon that coin, you created a Trinity bond that shouldn't exist. 3 alphas bonded to 1 Omega. That's forbidden in most pack law. Considered too dangerous. Why? Because it creates a power imbalance, Damon said. A Trinity gives the Omega leverage over 3 alpha bloodlines, their packs, their territories, their lives. His eyes burned into mine. You could destroy us with a thought if you knew how? I stared at him. You think I'd... No. He closed the distance between us, and suddenly he was right there, 1 step below me, which put us almost at eye level. I think you're dangerous as hell and you don't even realize it yet. I think you're angry and grieving, and you have every right to both. And I think, his voice dropped, I think if you wanted to make us suffer for using you, you could. Easily. Is that why you want me here? The words tasted bitter. To control me? We want you here, Julian said, standing. Because the bond won't let us breathe when you're gone. Because every instinct we have screams to protect you. Because you're ours, Rhett finished roughly. And we're yours, whether you want us or not. I don't. I stopped. Because that was a lie, wasn't it? I could feel the bond pulling, could feel my body responding to their proximity, could feel something in my chest settling just from being near them. I hated it, hated that it was real. The Sanctuary, I said, forcing myself back on track. Where are they? We don't know, Damon admitted. The warehouse was a satellite location. By the time we extracted you and came back with reinforcements, they'd cleared out. No trace. But they'll come for me. Yes. No hesitation. No comfort. just truth. When? Soon. Rhett moved closer, and now all three of them were surrounding the stairs. Not trapping, not quite, but close enough that I could feel their heat, smell their scents mixing together. Cedar and smoke, rain and earth, and something sharper from Rhett. Gunpowder, maybe. Danger. They know what you are now. They won't let you go easily. Good waya, I said, and all three of them went still. Let them come. Let them try. Kai? Julian's voice held warning. No. I descended the last 3 steps, and suddenly I was standing between them, surrounded. The bond hummed with approval, with rightness, and I shoved the feeling down. You want to protect me? Fine. Teach me to protect myself. You say I can manipulate bonds? Then show me how. That's dangerous, Damon started. Everything about this is dangerous. My voice cracked. My brother is dead. I'm being hunted. I'm bonded to 3 alphas I don't trust, living in a house I don't belong in, with powers I don't understand. So either teach me how to survive this, or get out of my way and let me figure it out myself. Rhett laughed, sharp and delighted. I told you we should keep him. This isn't a joke. I turned on him and found myself chest to chest with 6 feet of lethal alpha. His scent hit me, gunpowder and something wild, and my breath caught. Do I look like I'm joking? His voice dropped to a growl. You want to learn how to be dangerous? I'll teach you. You want revenge? I'll hand you the knife. But don't think for 1 second that we're going to let you throw yourself into danger without us right there beside you. I don't need... You do. Julian's hand touched my shoulder, and I felt the electric current run through me. You need us just like we need you. The bond won't allow anything else. I turned, and he was so close I could see flecks of darker gray in his eyes. I don't want to need you. I know. His thumb traced my collarbone through the borrowed shirt. But you do anyway. This is insane. Yes. Damon's voice came from behind me, and I was suddenly aware of being surrounded by all 3 of them. It is. I still hate you for lying to me. We know. Julian's fingers tightened slightly. And I'm not going to just forgive you because of some magical bond. We don't expect you to, Damon said quietly. And if I find out you're manipulating me again, you'll make us regret it, Rhett finished. We know that too. I looked between them, these 3 dangerous alphas who'd upended my entire life in one night, who'd used me, who'd told me my brother was dead, who made every nerve in my body light up just by being close. I want to see where Ethan is buried, I said finally. Tomorrow, first thing. Silence. Then Damon nodded. Okay. And I want everything you have on the sanctuary, every file, every lead. Done, Julian agreed. And, my voice shook. And I want you to tell me what happens if I reject this bond, what it would actually do to all of us. All 3 of them went rigid. Kai, Damon started. Truth, I demanded. You promised me truth. His jaw clenched. Then, it would kill us, slowly, and it would destroy you from the inside out. The words hung in the air. So I'm trapped, I whispered. No. Julian's hand moved to cup my face, tilting my head to meet his eyes. You're bonded. There's a difference. Doesn't feel like it. I know. His thumb traced my cheekbone. But we have the rest of our lives to show you the difference. If you'll let us. The bond pulsed, 3 golden threads pulling tight. And despite everything, despite the anger and grief and fear, I felt something in me respond. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe, eventually, the possibility of it. I'm exhausted, I said quietly. Guest room is yours, Damon said. Second door on the left. We'll be downstairs if you need... No. The word came out before I could stop it. I mean, I swallowed hard. The bond. It hurts when you're far away. Understanding flickered across all 3 faces. How do you want to handle this? Julian asked carefully. I looked at the stairs, at the house, at them. I don't know, I admitted. But I can't be alone tonight. Not after... You won't be, Rhett said simply. We'll stay close. However you need us to. And despite everything, I believed him. However I need you to, I repeated slowly, testing the words. What does that mean? Rhett's smile was dangerous. Whatever you're comfortable with, sweetheart. We can sleep outside your door like guard dogs, or we can stay close enough that the bond doesn't hurt, Julian finished, shooting Rhett a look. Your choice. My choice. Right. Except the bond was already aching at the thought of them leaving, already pulling me toward them like gravity. I stopped, started again. I've never done this before. All three of them went very still. Never been bonded? Damon asked carefully. Never shared space with an alpha. Never. Heat crept up my neck. Any of it. The silence that followed felt weighted. Then Julian's expression softened into something that made my chest tight. Then we'll follow your lead. Always. That's not how this works, though, is it? I looked between them. You're alphas. Dominant ones, based on everything I've seen. And I'm supposed to just, what? Trust that you'll respect boundaries when every instinct you have is screaming to claim me? Yes, Damon said flatly. That's exactly what you're supposed to trust. Why? Because you're ours. Rhett moved closer, and his eyes were blazing. Which means your comfort, your safety, your choice. That all matters more than our instincts. More than the bond. More than anything. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. The guest room, I said finally. Show me. Julian led the way up the stairs, and I felt Damon and Rhett fall in behind me. Not crowding, just there. Present. The bond hummed with contentment at the formation, and I hated how right it felt. The guest room was beautiful, king-sized bed, soft lighting, windows overlooking the Portland skyline through the rain. Everything expensive and careful, and nothing like the cramped studio I'd lost. Bathrooms through there, Julian indicated a door. Closets empty, but Margaret will have clothes brought up tomorrow. And, he hesitated, we're right down the hall, all three of us, if you need anything. I stood in the center of the room, and the bond pulled. They were too far away, just 10 feet of distance, and my chest was already starting to ache. This is ridiculous, I muttered. The bond is new, Damon said from the doorway. Give it a few days to settle and the separation won't hurt as much. A few days, I looked at him. I can't even handle 20 minutes. It gets easier. That's what Margaret said. I wrapped my arms around myself. But right now it doesn't feel easier. It feels like my chest is being pulled apart. The three of them exchanged glances. Then Julian spoke quietly. Let us stay, just for tonight, until you fall asleep. Where? He gestured to the armchairs by the window. We'll keep distance. You'll have the bed, but we'll be close enough that the bond won't hurt. It was reasonable, practical, exactly what I needed. So why did it feel like giving in? Fine, I said. But if any of you... We won't, Rhett cut in. We already told you. Your choice, your boundaries. I wanted to argue, wanted to push back just to prove I could. But exhaustion was dragging at me, and the bond was pulling, and I was so tired of fighting. I moved to the bed and sat on the edge. The mattress was soft, too soft. Everything here was too much. Damon claimed one armchair, Julian took the other. And Rhett, because of course he did, dropped onto the floor beside the bed, leaning against the wall with his long legs stretched out. Comfortable? I asked dryly. Extremely. His grin was sharp. Good view, too. Heat crept up my neck again. You're insufferable. You'll get used to it. I really won't. Julian's quiet laugh cut through the tension. Give him time. Rhett grows on you. Like a fungus, I muttered. And Rhett's laugh was genuine and warm and did something stupid to my heart. I laid back against the pillows, and the bond immediately settled. Just having them in the room, close enough to feel, to smell, to sense, made the ache in my chest ease to something manageable. I hated that it worked. Tell me about Ethan, I said into the quiet. You said you found him. Tell me what happened. The room went heavy. Kai, Damon started, Please. I stared at the ceiling. I need to know. Silence. Then Julian spoke, his voice careful. We'd been tracking the sanctuary for months, following their supply chains. 3 weeks ago, we got a tip about a body at the docks, someone who'd been asking the wrong questions. When we got there, Rhett continued, quieter now, he'd been dead maybe 6 hours. Single kill shot. Professional. My throat closed. He had a journal on him, Damon said, documenting everything he'd learned about the sanctuary, about Omega trafficking, about, he paused, about a prophecy regarding a sterling bloodline Omega who could forge Trinity bonds. I turned my head to look at him. He knew. About me. He was trying to protect you, Julian said gently. Every entry in that journal was about keeping you hidden, keeping you safe. Tears burned hot. And they killed him for it. Yes. Did he? My voice cracked. Did he suffer? No, Damon said firmly. It was quick. He wouldn't have felt anything. I didn't know if that was true. Didn't know if he was just trying to spare me. But I held on to it anyway. We buried him properly, Julian added. Paid for the plot. Made sure he had a marker. We didn't know he had family, but we couldn't just leave him to the state. Something in my chest cracked open. These alphas, these dangerous, manipulative men who'd used me as bait, had given my brother a funeral, had honored him when they'd had no obligation to. Thank you, I whispered. You don't have to thank us. Rhett started. Yes, I do. I looked at each of them. You didn't know him, didn't know me, but you did that anyway. He was yours, Damon said simply. That makes him ours too. The bond pulsed with truth. I closed my eyes, feeling tears slip down my temples into my hair. I miss him. I know, Julian said softly, and I'm so angry. You should be, Rhett agreed. And I don't know how to be here, in this house with you, when everything feels wrong. Then we'll figure it out, Damon's voice was rough. Together, for however long it takes. I wanted to argue, wanted to push them away, wanted to prove I didn't need this, didn't need them. But the bond hummed with contentment, and my exhausted body was finally relaxing. And for the first time since I'd walked into that warehouse, I felt something close to safe. Kai? Julian's voice was barely a whisper. Yeah? You're not alone anymore. I need you to know that. I opened my eyes and found all three of them watching me. Damon with his controlled intensity, Rhett with his dangerous softness, Julian with his devastating honesty. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing yet, I admitted. Fair enough, Rhett said, but we've got time to convince you. My eyelids were getting heavy. The bond was warm and settled, and despite everything, despite the manipulation and the lies and the grief, I felt myself slipping towards sleep. Don't leave, I heard myself whisper. We won't, Damon promised, even when I fall asleep. Especially then, Julian said quietly. And if I have nightmares, we'll be right here, Rhett finished. The last thing I felt before sleep claimed me was the bond. 3 golden threads wrapped around my heart, holding me together even as everything else fell apart. And for the first time in months, I didn't dream of searching. I dreamed of being found. But somewhere in the dark hours before dawn, I woke to voices, low, urgent, coming from the hallway. Shouldn't have let him see the journal. He deserved to know. He deserved the truth, not half of it. My eyes snapped open. Half of it. I sat up slowly, carefully, and saw all 3 armchairs were empty. The bedroom door was cracked open, golden light spilling through. The bond pulled toward them, but something cold slid down my spine. What weren't they telling me? I slipped out of bed, my bare feet silent on the hardwood, and moved to the door. The journal had more than just research. Damon's voice, tight with control. It had a message. For Kai. My heart stopped. We can't show him that, Rhett said flatly. Not yet. Not when he's already... He'll find out eventually, Julian argued. And when he does, he'll never forgive us for hiding it. Better than destroying him now, Rhett shot back. I pushed the door open. All 3 of them froze. What message? My voice came out deadly calm. What did Ethan leave for me? The silence that followed was deafening. Three alphas, dominant, dangerous, used to commanding entire territories, looked at me like I'd caught them with their hands in the cookie jar. Except this wasn't about cookies. This was about my brother. About secrets. About them deciding what I could and couldn't handle. Again. What message? I repeated, and my voice was ice. Damon's jaw tightened. Kai, you should be sleeping. Answer the question. It's complicated, Julian started. Then uncomplicated. I stepped fully into the hallway, the borrowed shirt hanging off one shoulder, my bare feet cold against the hardwood. You said Ethan had a journal. You said it documented everything he learned. What else was in it? Rhett's eyes tracked my movement, and I saw the exact moment he decided to stop lying. A letter, addressed to you. The floor tilted. Where is it? Kai. Damon moved toward me, but I stepped back. Don't. My voice shook. Don't come near me right now. Just, where is the letter? Damon's office, Julian said quietly, ignoring Rhett's sharp look. Bottom drawer, locked. I turned and headed for the stairs. Kai, wait. Damon's hand caught my wrist, and the bond flared hot. I yanked away, and the movement made both of us flinch. You don't get to touch me right now, I said, and the words came out broken. You don't get to comfort me or protect me or make decisions for me. Not about this. We were trying to spare you, he started. I don't want to be spared. The shout tore out of me. I want the truth. I want to know what my brother's last words to me were. And you, my voice cracked, you kept them from me. You had them this whole time, and you didn't tell me. Because we knew it would hurt you, Rhett said roughly. Because whatever's in that letter is mine, I finished. It's mine, and you had no right. Silence. Then Julian moved past me toward the stairs. I'll get it. Julian! Damon's voice held warning. He's right. Julian's eyes were storm dark. We had no right, and if we're asking him to trust us, we need to stop making choices for him. He disappeared down the stairs, and I was left in the hallway with Damon and Rhett. The bond pulled at me. 3 threads tangled together, aching with tension and hurt, and something that felt like guilt bleeding through from their side. Good. They should feel guilty. How long have you had it? I asked quietly. 3 weeks, Damon admitted, since we found his body. 3 weeks. 3 weeks of me searching for Ethan, posting on missing persons forums, calling hospitals, walking Portland streets at 3 in the morning, hoping to find him. And they'd had his last words the entire time. I hate you, I whispered. Right now, in this moment, I really hate you. Damon's face went carefully blank. But through the bond, I felt it, the way the words landed like a knife between his ribs. I know, he said. Footsteps on the stairs. Julian returned, holding a weathered leather journal. He held it out to me, and I saw his hand was shaking slightly. Whatever's in there, he said quietly, we'll be here when you're ready to talk about it, if you want to talk about it. I took the journal. It was worn, the leather soft from Ethan's hands. I could smell him on it. Coffee and charcoal pencils and the cheap laundry detergent we'd always used. My throat closed. Alone, I managed. I need to be alone. The bond, Rhett started. I don't care. I clutched the journal to my chest. I don't care if it hurts. I don't care if it makes me sick. I need... My voice broke. Please, just give me this. They exchanged looks. Then slowly, all 3 of them stepped back. Guest room, Damon said. We'll be downstairs. If you need us, I won't. I walked past them, feeling the bond stretch and ache with every step. Back in the guest room, I closed the door and pressed my back against it, sliding down to sit on the floor. For a long moment, I just held the journal. Felt the weight of it, the realness, the last piece of my brother I'd ever have. Then I opened it. The first pages were research, notes about the sanctuary, lists of names, sketches of organizational charts, Ethan's handwriting, neat and precise. But toward the end, the writing got messier, rushed, scared. And then I found it, a page with my name at the top. Kai, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead. God, that's a terrible way to start a letter, isn't it? But I need you to understand how serious this is. I found out what Mom was hiding, what she was running from. You're not just an Omega, Kai. You're a Sterling, the last of a bloodline that everyone thought was extinct. And your blood, your bond, it can do things that shouldn't be possible. Mom gave you that coin for a reason. If you're in danger, if you're cornered, use it. But only as a last resort. Because the moment you activate it, every alpha with ambition is going to come for you. I've been trying to find you protection. The Ashford Pack. They're dangerous, but they're also honorable. If anyone can keep you safe, it's them. Find Damon Ashford. Show him this letter. Trust him. But Kai, and this is important, don't trust the Sanctuary. Don't trust anyone who promises they can help Omegas like you. They're the ones hunting you. They're the ones who... The handwriting got jagged here, like he'd been interrupted. They found me. I don't have much time. Listen, there's something else. Something I found in Mom's things before she died. A name. Vincent Cross. He runs the Sanctuary, but he's more than that. He's... The entry stopped. Just stopped. Mid-sentence. Like he'd been pulled away. Or worse. My hands were shaking so hard the journal nearly fell. Vincent Cross. The man who'd ordered my brother killed. The man who was hunting me. I flipped the page, desperate for more, and found one last line. Scrawled, desperate. He's your father, Kai. Vincent Cross is your father, and he's coming for you. The journal slipped from my fingers. No, that wasn't. It couldn't be. My father had died before I was born. Mom had told me that. Told me he was gone. That it was just us. That we were safe. But she'd been running. Always running. And now I knew what she'd been running from. The bond flared, sharp and urgent, and suddenly the door burst open. All three alphas crowded in, and I realized I was hyperventilating, curled on the floor, the journal pages scattered around me. Kai! Damon dropped to his knees beside me. Breathe. You need to breathe. He's my father, I choked out. The man who killed Ethan. The man hunting me. He's my father. All three of them went rigid. What? Julian breathed. I grabbed the journal page with Ethan's last words and shoved it at them. Watched as Damon read it, his face going hard and cold. Vincent Cross, he said flatly. The Omega trafficking kingpin who's been operating in the Pacific Northwest for 20 years. That Vincent Cross is my father, I finished, and Ethan knew. He found out and they killed him for it. Rhett swore viciously. This changes everything, Julian said quietly. No. I struggled to my feet and Damon rose with me, his hand hovering like he wanted to steady me, but didn't dare touch. This changes nothing. He killed my brother, he's hunting me, and I'm going to make him pay. Kai, you can't just... Damon started. Watch me. I met his eyes. You wanted to protect me? Fine. Then help me destroy him. He's your father. He's a monster who murdered Ethan. My voice was steel. Biology doesn't change that. A monster who knows exactly what you are, Rhett said grimly. Who knows how to activate your abilities, how to use you. Then I'll learn faster. I looked between them. You said I could manipulate bonds, forge them, break them. Teach me. Now. It takes years to learn, Julian started. Then we don't have years. I grabbed the journal, clutching it to my chest. Because if Ethan's right, if Vincent Cross is my father, and he's been building the sanctuary to harvest Omegas like me, then he's not just coming for you, Damon finished, his voice deadly quiet. He's coming to take you, to use you to build an army of bonded alphas he can control. And you three? I looked at each of them. You're already bonded to me, which means if he gets his hands on me, he owns us too, Rhett said flatly. Through you. The weight of it settled like concrete in my chest. So we have two choices, I said. I can run, hide, spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, or we go after him first, Damon finished, before he's ready, before he expects it. It's suicide, Julian said quietly. Vincent Cross has been untouchable for decades. He has resources, connections, an entire network, and I have three incredibly dangerous alphas who are bonded to me, I interrupted, who feel what I feel, who are literally magically invested in keeping me alive. That's not enough, Julian started. Then make it enough. I stepped closer, feeling the bond flare between us. You said I could destroy you if I knew how. So teach me. Teach me everything. And then we'll go after the man who killed my brother. Silence stretched between us. Then Damon's lips curved into something sharp and deadly. All right, he said. Let's burn his world down. 3 days. That's how long it took for Vincent Cross to make his move. 3 days of Damon teaching me how to feel the bonds, not just the golden threads tying me to the Ashfords, but the faint echoes of pack connections all around me. 3 days of Julian showing me how to pull on those threads gently, testing their strength. 3 days of Rhett teaching me how to break them if I needed to. And 3 days of waiting for my father to come for what he thought he owned. He didn't disappoint. The attack came at midnight. 6 alphas breached the Ashford territory. Professionals armed, moving like military. But they didn't know what I'd learned. Didn't know that the scared Omega they'd come to collect had spent 72 hours learning to weaponize the very thing that made me valuable. I felt them the moment they crossed the property line. 6 foreign bonds, all tethered to someone else. Someone whose pull I recognized instinctively, sickeningly. My father's bonds, his pack, his weapons. They're here, I said quietly. Damon's hand found mine in the dark. You don't have to do this. Yes, I said, I do. We'd planned for this, hoped for this, even, because Vincent Cross wouldn't come himself. Not yet. He'd send his bonded alphas first, test the defenses, and when they reported back that I was vulnerable, that's when we'd have him. Positions, Damon ordered through the pack link, and I felt the Ashford pack move into formation around the house. 12 alphas loyal to Damon, Rhett, and Julian. 12 against 6. But numbers didn't matter when I could feel the invisible chains connecting those 6 attackers to my father. I closed my eyes and pulled. The bond manipulation came easier than it should have. Like muscle memory I'd never built. Knowledge buried in my DNA finally waking up. I felt the threads connecting the attackers to Vincent. Felt how he'd forged them, twisted them, made these alphas loyal beyond reason. And I felt how fragile those bonds really were compared to real ones, compared to what I had with Damon, Rhett, and Julian. Kai, Julian's voice held warning. Don't push too hard. But I was already pulling harder, unraveling the forced bonds like badly sewn stitches. The attackers stumbled. I felt their confusion bleed through, felt the moment Vincent's control started slipping. Stand down, I projected the command through their breaking bonds. You're free. You don't have to do this. 5 of them stopped, lowered their weapons, stared at their hands like they were seeing them for the first time in years. But the 6th, the pack leader, snarled and lunged. Rhett moved like lightning, intercepting, and the sound of the impact echoed through the night. They went down in a tangle of limbs and violence, and I felt Damon tense beside me, every protective instinct screaming to join the fight. Stay with Kai, Rhett growled through the pack link. I've got this. He did. 30 seconds later, the 6th attacker was unconscious, zip-tied, and Rhett was standing over him, breathing hard. 5 freed, Julian reported quietly. They're confused, but no longer hostile. Then we have about 10 minutes, I said, before Vincent realizes his attack failed and his pack bonds are broken. Which means he'll come himself, Damon finished. Good. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't need to answer to know who it was, but I did anyway. Put it on speaker. Hello, Kai. The voice was smooth, cultured, with an undertone of steel. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Your alphas? I kept my voice steady. They belong to themselves now. I freed them. Silence, then a low laugh. Impossible. Those bonds were forced, I interrupted. Artificial. Nothing compared to real bonds. Nothing compared to what I can do. I paused. Nothing compared to what you taught me I could do. Is that what you think? Vincent's voice hardened. That breaking a few weak bonds makes you powerful? Child, I've been cultivating this gift for 20 years. I've built an empire on it. And you, You're just a scared boy playing with forces you don't understand. Maybe, I admitted, but I understand enough to know that you killed Ethan. And that's all I need to understand. Your brother was collateral damage. My brother was trying to protect me from you. My voice shook with rage. And you murdered him for it. I gave you life. You gave me DNA, I cut him off. Ethan gave me a life, a home, a family, and you took him from me. Through the bond, I felt Damon's hand tighten on mine, felt Rhett and Julian move closer, flanking me. So here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to turn yourself in to the Portland Pack Council. You're going to confess to Ethan's murder and to running the sanctuary, and you're going to dismantle every trafficking operation you've built. Vincent laughed, cold and sharp. Or what? Or I'll do what you've been doing for 20 years. I closed my eyes, reaching out with senses I was just learning to use. I'll find every single alpha you've bonded, every pack connection you've forged, and I'll break them, all of them, at once. The laughter stopped. You're bluffing. That would kill me? Maybe. I opened my eyes. But it would destroy you first. Your empire, your power, everything you've built. And honestly, right now, that sounds fair. Silence stretched across the line. Then Damon leaned in. She's not alone, Cross. You come after her, you come through the Ashford pack. All of us. And every other pack in the Northwest, Julian added quietly. We've already sent them the evidence. Ethan's journal, your organization's records. They're voting tomorrow on whether to declare you rogue. It's over, Rhett finished. You've lost. More silence then. This isn't over. Yeah, I said tiredly. It is. And I hung up. The Pack Council voted unanimously the next morning. Vincent Cross was declared rogue, his assets frozen, his organization dismantled. The freed alphas testified against him, and 3 weeks later he was arrested trying to flee to Canada. It didn't bring Ethan back. Nothing would. But standing at his grave with Damon, Rhett, and Julian, feeling the spring sun warm on my face and the bonds settled and strong in my chest, I finally felt like I could breathe. He'd be proud of you, Julian said quietly. He'd probably tell me I was being reckless, I corrected, and that bonding myself to 3 dangerous alphas was the worst decision I'd ever made. Is it? Damon asked, and there was something vulnerable in his voice. The worst decision? I looked at him, at the alpha who'd let himself be captured to find me, at Rhett, who'd taught me to be dangerous, at Julian, who'd given me the choice even when it cost him, at the 3 people who felt like home even though I'd known them less than a month. No, I admitted. It's the best terrible decision I ever made. Rhett grinned. We'll take it. For now, I warned. But you're all still on probation for the manipulation thing. How long is probation? Julian asked, fighting a smile. Forever, probably. I reached for his hand, then Damon's, then Rhett's. Felt the bond sing with rightness. But I'm willing to negotiate. We can work with that, Damon said quietly. And as we stood there, 4 people bound together by fate and choice, and something that felt like love, even if I wasn't ready to call it that yet. I thought about Ethan, about the coin, about how Mom had known somehow that I'd need it, that I'd find them, that I'd be okay. Thank you, I whispered to the marble headstone, for everything. The wind picked up, scattering cherry blossoms across the grass, and I swear I felt him answer. Love you, little brother. Be happy. I will now, I promised, and with 3 alphas who would burn the world down to keep me safe, 3 golden threads wrapped around my heart, and a future that was mine to choose. I finally believed it. Do you believe fate brings lost souls back together? Or do we forge our own destiny through the bonds we choose?